In winter, medieval huts could turn colder than the air outside, frost biting the walls, wind slipping through every gap. Yet peasants lay down each night and woke again. What happened between dusk and dawn holds details few have ever heard, and they defy the usual picture of medieval life. One of those details sat right under their feet. Medieval peasants dug their fires into the ground and discovered something amazing. The sunken hearth wasn't just a hole, it was a heating system that spread warmth across the entire floor instead of just shooting heat straight up. These underground fire pits became the foundation of survival architecture that transformed freezing hovels into livable spaces. When you put a fire below floor level, heat flows sideways first before rising. This meant the whole hut got heated instead of just the area above the flames, like butter melting evenly across warm bread. The physics were simple but revolutionary for survival, creating radiant warmth that reached every corner. Stones surrounded these sunken hearths for good reason. Heavy rocks absorbed heat all day and kept radiating warmth hours after the flames died. The stones worked like medieval storage batteries, holding enough heat to keep toes warm until sunrise. River rocks worked best. They held heat longest without cracking under thermal stress. Floor preparation made the difference. Many huts had layers of ash spread beneath the rushes. Ash contains thousands of tiny air pockets that trap and hold warmth much better than regular dirt. Some peasants mixed ash with clay for better heat retention, creating thermal barriers against cold earth. Fire placement in the center distributed heat equally in all directions. A wall fire only warmed half the space. Central placement ensured every sleeping spot got its fair share of heat. Strategic positioning could mean life or death during harsh winters when every degree mattered for survival. It was like creating a warm river that flowed along the ground before evaporating into the sky. Every corner got touched by this heat flow, eliminating freezing zones. No family member had to suffer in cold spots, while others stayed warm, preventing dangerous temperature variations within the living space. Sunken fires were also safer. They were protected from drafts and less likely to send sparks toward the thatch roof. This underground method turned simple fires into whole house heating systems using just physics and rocks. Wind couldn't scatter dangerous embers or steal precious heat from the carefully designed heating system. But ground-level heating was only the beginning of peasant ingenuity. Raised sleeping platforms near the roof gave peasants access to the warmest air in their huts. These wooden lofts captured heat that most people never knew existed. The elevated position became prime real estate during freezing nights, offering temperature advantages that could mean comfortable rest instead of shivering misery. Hot air always rises. While cold air sinks toward the floor, heated air floats up and collects near the ceiling. The loft was like having a reserved seat in the warm section of the hut. Temperature differences were measurable and significant for comfort, often providing several precious degrees of additional warmth. Temperature differences could be dramatic, enough extra degrees to mean comfortable sleep instead of miserable shivering. Every bit of heated air got trapped up high where the sleeping platforms waited. Even a few degrees made survival possible instead of unbearable, transforming cold nights into manageable rest periods for exhausted families. Construction was simple. Thick wooden planks across supporting beams positioned just right, high enough to capture heat, low enough to avoid head bumps. Peasants used whatever sturdy wood they could find, often recycling timber from other projects. Building materials came from creative scavenging and careful resource management. Families got strategic. Children went up to lofts because their smaller bodies lost heat faster. Parents stayed on the ground floor to tend the fire and keep heat flowing upward. Age and body size determined sleeping assignments for maximum survival benefit, creating efficient heat distribution systems within family groups. Smart builders left gaps between loft floor planks. This allowed heated air to flow up from below while still providing solid sleeping surfaces. Think of it like sleeping on a warm air grate, except comfortable enough for a full night's rest. The gaps had to be sized perfectly to balance airflow with structural integrity. Space efficiency was huge. Medieval huts were tiny. Building sleeping areas vertically meant fitting more people without sacrificing floor space. Every square foot mattered when families needed room for storage, cooking, and basic living activities. Vertical construction maximized living capacity within severely limited building footprints. The psychological benefits mattered too. Sleeping elevated felt safer, protected from cold drafts prowling along the floor. Height provided security and warmth simultaneously, creating better rest conditions for exhausted peasant families. The elevated position also offered protection from floor moisture and ground-dwelling pests. Yet even the warmest sleeping spot meant nothing without proper insulation beneath bodies. Medieval peasants built beds like fortress walls against cold. Thick straw mattresses formed the foundation, but the real magic was in trapping and holding body heat. Construction techniques passed down through generations refined these heating systems continuously, creating thermal barriers that could maintain warmth throughout the coldest nights. Straw mattresses weren't thin bedding. These were substantial constructions, thick bundles sewn into cloth casings. The hollow stems created thousands of air pockets that worked as natural heat storage. Fresh straw worked better than old compressed material for maximum insulation, providing superior thermal protection when properly constructed. Each piece of straw was like a tiny thermos bottle, holding warm air in its hollow center. Multiply that by thousands of straws and you get serious insulating power. The natural structure of grain stalks made them perfect tiny heat containers, creating an effective thermal barrier using readily available agricultural waste. Smart peasants layered wool or fur on top. This stopped body warmth from sinking downward into the straw. Winter bedding reached 12 inches deep in cold regions. Climbing in was like sinking into a warm, lumpy cloud that smelled like a barn. Thickness directly correlated with survival chances during brutal winters when proper insulation meant life or death. Double-layer construction took it further. 2 straw bundles with an air gap between created an insulation sandwich. The trapped air prevented heat from transferring downward. Some families experimented with triple layers when materials allowed for extra protection, building thermal systems that could maintain warmth for hours. Edge sealing was crucial. Rolled cloth barriers around sleeping areas prevented heated air from leaking out sideways, like caulking gaps around windows, except the windows were beds. Draft elimination could make the difference between comfortable warmth and shivering misery, requiring careful attention to every potential heat escape route. Layering strategy mattered. Heavy materials on bottom for support, light fluffy materials on top for maximum air trapping right next to bodies. Understanding material properties helped peasants optimize their limited resources for maximum heating efficiency, creating thermal gradients that directed warmth towards sleeping bodies. Sharing became family heat conservation. Multiple people on thick mattresses pooled their body warmth effectively. The system worked better with several human heat sources. Strategic positioning put the coldest family members between the warmest ones, maximizing the benefit of shared body heat throughout the night. These bedding systems worked so well that peasants could sleep comfortably even when fires died completely. Stored heat in layered mattresses lasted hours. Proper construction meant surviving even the worst winter nights without active heating, providing thermal security that could bridge the gap until morning fires. However, the warmest bed couldn't help if heat escaped through exposed skin. Woolen nightcaps became survival gear for peasants who knew heat escapes from heads faster than water through broken dams. These weren't fashion. They were life-saving coverings that stopped precious warmth from vanishing. Medical knowledge about heat loss made these accessories essential rather than optional, transforming simple cloth into critical winter survival equipment. A bare head in winter was like leaving the front door wide open while trying to heat the house. An uncovered head could make the whole person feel cold all night. Body heat rushed out through scalp blood vessels without any barrier to stop the loss. The head's rich blood supply made it a major heat leak that could drain body warmth faster than any other exposed area. Nightcaps were knitted tight to hug scalps and trap radiating heat. Some covered ears and necks for better retention. Different cap designs served various climates and personal preferences while maintaining the core function of heat conservation. Master knitters developed specialized patterns that maximize warmth while remaining comfortable during long winter nights. Breathing was another problem. Every cold breath stole body warmth. Every exhale sent heated air into freezing night. The continuous exchange of warm internal air for cold external air created significant heat drain that could leave sleepers shivering despite warm bedding and proper body covering. Simple cloth coverings over nose and mouth solved this. These breath warmers preheated incoming air using outgoing breath heat, like having a tiny furnace attached to your face. The system recycled body heat instead of losing it to the environment, creating miniature heat exchangers that captured and reused precious thermal energy. Hands dumped heat rapidly through blood vessels. Medieval sleepers wore mittens or wrapped hands in cloth strips. Uncovered hands were like radiators that cooled the whole body instead of warming it. Extremity protection prevented dangerous heat loss during sleep, as cold hands triggered body responses that reduced overall warmth to preserve core temperature. Neck sealing was advanced technique. Cloth wrapped multiple times around necks prevented warm air escaping upward. The neck was like the body's chimney. If you didn't block it, all heat went right up and out. Proper sealing created complete thermal barriers that trapped body heat while preventing cold air infiltration around vulnerable areas. These systems worked as complete packages: head covered, breathing warmed, hands protected, neck sealed. Every heat escape route got addressed. Comprehensive protection meant no weak points where precious body heat could leak away during cold nights, creating integrated thermal armor that maximized warmth retention throughout sleep. A properly wrapped peasant looked like a cloth-covered mystery person, but slept warm while neighbors suffered. Function trumped appearance when survival was at stake. Comfort and warmth mattered more than looking fashionable or maintaining dignity, as freezing to death offered no social benefits whatsoever. Cost was minimal: cloth strips and a wool cap. But the warmth could mean surviving winter or not. The investment in basic materials paid enormous dividends in comfort, health, and survival rates. Simple preparation could transform dangerous cold nights into manageable sleep periods for entire families. Even perfectly wrapped humans sometimes needed help from unexpected sources. Livestock became living heaters when peasants discovered chickens, goats, and pigs generated more reliable warmth than most fires. Smart families invited animals inside for heat sharing that kept everyone alive. This biological heating system required no fuel gathering or fire maintenance, while providing continuous warmth throughout the coldest nights without any human intervention required. Farm animals produced body heat constantly without fuel or maintenance. One goat could raise a small hut's temperature several degrees, like having a furnace that fed itself and provided milk for breakfast. The arrangement created mutual benefits for both humans and animals, with livestock receiving shelter while families gained steady heat sources that never went out. Animal selection wasn't random. Pigs generated intense warmth from body mass. Chickens worked well in groups, multiplying heating effects through clustering. Larger animals provided more heat, but required more space and food to maintain their warming contribution. Peasants learned to calculate the optimal mix of animals for their specific heating needs and available resources. Simple barriers separated animal areas from human sleeping spaces. Heat benefits without sharing beds with livestock, like roommates who couldn't complain but made barnyard comments at inconvenient hours. Physical separation maintained hygiene while preserving thermal advantages, creating distinct zones that allowed heat circulation while preventing direct animal contact. Positioning was strategic. Large animals near center, where heat reached everyone. Small animals in corners creating heated pockets for children. Careful placement ensured optimal heat distribution throughout the living space while accommodating both human and animal needs, maximizing thermal benefits while maintaining practical living arrangements for both species. Animal bedding served double duty as hut insulation. Their breath added warm, moist air that felt more comfortable than dry heat. Like multiple humidifiers that generated heat without plugs, the moisture prevented respiratory problems from overly dry winter air, creating healthier indoor environments while maintaining comfortable humidity levels throughout cold seasons. Timing worked perfectly. Animals were most active evenings and early mornings, producing peak warmth when humans needed it most. Natural biological rhythms aligned with human heating requirements for maximum survival benefit, providing extra warmth during the critical transition periods when fires were being banked or rekindled. Feed planning was crucial. Well-fed animals generated more body heat. The arrangement was biological central heating that also produced eggs, milk, and bacon. Strategic feeding schedules maximized heat production during the coldest parts of winter nights, creating sustainable heating systems that provided both warmth and food security for families. Smell was an issue, but freezing to death had worse odor. Survival meant accepting less pleasant aspects of effective heating. Families learned to tolerate barnyard smells in exchange for life-saving warmth and protection, prioritizing survival over comfort when harsh conditions demanded practical compromises for family safety. Some families kept bringing animals indoors even with better heating options. Reliable livestock heat often beats unpredictable fires. The consistency and safety of animal heat made it preferable to other heating methods, providing backup warmth that couldn't accidentally burn down homes or require constant fuel supplies. Yet even with animal warmth, peasants knew fires remained essential for the longest nights. Medieval peasants made fires burn all night by burying them under ash layers. This banking technique turned dying embers into steady heat sources lasting until morning without attention. The method required skill and experience to master, but provided reliable overnight heating that could mean the difference between waking up warm or finding frozen family members. The process started with good coal beds. At bedtime, peasants covered hot coals with thick ash, creating insulating blankets that trapped heat while restricting airflow just enough to keep embers alive. Timing and ash thickness determined success or failure in this delicate balance between preservation and suffocation of the essential heat source. Banked fires were like putting heat to sleep instead of killing it. Done right, buried coals stayed warm all night and sprang back to flames with morning breath and kindling. The technique preserved heat energy while minimizing fuel consumption during sleep hours, creating sustainable heating systems that stretched limited wood supplies throughout harsh winter seasons. Wood choice made all the difference. Peasants identified slow-burning hardwoods providing steady heat. Oak and hickory burned low and consistent, like picking marathon runners instead of sprinters for your heating team. Different wood types required different banking strategies for optimal results, with hardwoods providing the long-lasting coals essential for successful overnight heating. Clay pot heating revolutionized bedtime comfort. Ember-filled pots under beds on stone slabs created portable heaters, like personal heating pads that ran on wood instead of electricity. The pots could be moved and positioned for targeted warmth where needed most, allowing families to direct heat precisely where it would provide maximum comfort and warmth. Peat chunks were precious fuel where available. These compressed plant materials burned extremely slowly, sometimes lasting entire nights from single pieces. Peat provided consistent low-temperature heat that worked perfectly with banking techniques for extended burning, offering superior overnight heating for families fortunate enough to have access to these valuable fuel sources. Safety wasn't optional. One ember mistake could burn down homes and kill everyone. Families passed down careful fire handling procedures through generations. Experience taught proper techniques, while mistakes taught deadly consequences that couldn't be repeated, making fire safety knowledge a crucial survival skill passed from parents to children. Aromatic additions helped. Herb bundles and overnight fires masked smoke while providing mild medicine. Medieval aromatherapy that prevented freezing to death. Pleasant scents made the indoor air more bearable during long winter confinements, while certain herbs offered additional benefits like insect repellent properties or mild antiseptic effects. Temperature control through banking allowed fine-tuning. More ash meant slower burning, but longer duration. Less ash created higher heat, but shorter time. Experienced firekeepers could adjust banking to match weather conditions and heating needs precisely, creating customized heating solutions that responded to specific environmental challenges and family requirements. Some families rotated fire-checking duties. This kept heat sources alive while spreading responsibility. Night watch schedules ensured someone always monitored the fire situation and could respond to problems immediately, preventing heating failures that could endanger entire families during the most dangerous hours of winter nights. Managing overnight fires required more than technique. It demanded perfect timing. Medieval peasants split sleep into two parts during winter, creating schedules that worked perfectly for managing heat and surviving frigid nights. First sleep and second sleep became natural rhythms matching biology to survival needs. This segmented pattern maximized both rest quality and heating efficiency throughout dangerous winter nights. The pattern: bed after sunset for 4 hours, natural middle night awakening for 1 to 2 hours of activity, then second sleep until dawn. The timing aligned with natural body rhythms and practical heating requirements for optimal survival. This wasn't poor sleep. It was intentional scheduling, giving time to tend fires during the coldest, most dangerous night hours, like having a built-in alarm clock going off exactly when needed to save lives. The natural awakening prevented oversleeping through critical fire maintenance periods. Bodies adapted naturally. People woke up alert and ready for middle night tasks without struggle. Timing aligned perfectly with when banked fires needed attention. Biological clocks synchronized with survival requirements after generations of winter adaptation. Fire tending was most critical. Adding fuel to dying embers could mean waking up warm instead of frozen. Other tasks fit perfectly: checking children, adjusting shifted bedding, bathroom needs. The wakeful period served multiple practical purposes beyond fire management. Position shifting became a survival strategy. Following heat around beds like heat-seeking cats, except consequences were more serious than comfort. Family members repositioned themselves to capture maximum warmth from fading heat sources. The coldest pre-dawn hours aligned with second sleep timing. People tucked back into warmest spots with freshly tended fires right when maximum heat protection was needed. Strategic timing provided protection during the most dangerous temperature drops. Family coordination made systems efficient. Different members took middle night responsibility on rotating schedules. Shared duties prevented any single person from bearing the entire burden of overnight heating maintenance. Quiet midnight hours became thinking time without entertainment or lighting. Peasants used wakeful periods for reflection, planning, and problem-solving about survival challenges. Mental preparation helped families anticipate and address heating problems before they became critical. Weather awareness improved dramatically. People heard wind changes, detected storms, and noticed temperature drops. Real-time information helped adjust survival strategies immediately. Environmental monitoring during wakeful periods provided early warning of dangerous conditions. Modern people think sleeping straight through is natural, but peasants knew winter required different rules. They worked with body rhythms instead of fighting them. Seasonal adaptation meant survival instead of struggling against natural biological patterns. This segmented schedule prepared peasants mentally and physically for each winter day. Well-rested people made better decisions about heating, food, and safety, often meaning the difference between thriving and merely surviving until spring. Strategic rest patterns supported overall survival strategies throughout harsh winter months. These 7 techniques, working together, transformed medieval survival from desperate endurance into strategic comfort. Medieval peasants split sleep into 2 parts during winter, creating schedules that worked perfectly for managing heat and surviving frigid nights.